Your guide to voting in 2022. What time will voting commence? Voting hours will be from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. of May 9, 2022. If by 7 p.m. there are still people waiting in line to vote within 30 meters from the polling place, their names will be listed by the poll clerk, and anyone arriving after that will no longer be allowed to vote. Remember, even if you're in the list, you need to stay in line. The poll clerk will call your name according to the order of listing. If you're not around when your name is called, you will also not be allowed to vote anymore. I heard that voting will be done in 2 days. Is this true? No. Voting will be conducted only in 1 day on the second Monday of May. That is, on May 9, 2022. If ever there's any extension, it will only be by a few hours to accommodate voters still waiting in line by 7 p.m. What ID should I bring? Any government-issued ID, like a senior citizen's card or a PWD ID, will do. Other government IDs include a driver's license, your SSS or GSIS ID, a TIN, or a passport. An ID helps volunteers identify quickly your precinct and sequence number when looking for your polling place. Although not mandatory, it's better to bring an ID in case somebody questions your identity. But if you don't have an ID, any registered voter from the same precinct who knows you, like a neighbor, can verify your identity under oath. Where can I find my precinct number? I only have my voter's ID. Your voter ID number, or VIN, actually contains your precinct number. It's the second set of numbers and letters after the first hyphen. For example, if your VIN is 7501-00191B-C1451BCD, then your precinct number is 00191, and the letter that follows indicates if it's a mother or daughter precinct. Now, if you recently transferred your registration, make sure that your VIN is updated because the VIN will change. If you're still not sure, you can contact your local COMELEC office to help you. You can also check the posted computerized voters list, or PCVL, that is posted in every local COMELEC office or at the municipal, city, or district bulletin boards for your precinct number. I know where I voted in 2019. Why do I still need to know my precinct number? I'll just go to the old room where I last voted. Your room assignment may have changed for the 2022 elections, and the fastest way to know if it did is through your precinct number. In response to the current pandemic, COMELEC changed the clustering of precincts by reducing the number of voters per polling place from 1,000 voters in previous elections to less than 800. Fewer clustered precincts mean more polling places. So, if you go to a big voting center, it's likely that your room assignment has changed. Your precinct number lets you know which clustered precinct you belong to, and only then will you know if your room assignment changed or not. One way of finding out your clustered precinct is by going to the Voters Assistance Desk, or VAD, on Election Day. Or you can go to your local COMELEC office or voting center a few days in advance and check out your room assignment from the posted computerized voters list, or PCVL. Either way, you will need your precinct number to do this. Finally, if you are a PWD or senior voter, you can go directly to the Emergency Accessible Polling Place, or EAPP, and they will assist you in finding your polling place. To find out the voting procedure in an EAPP, check out our other videos. I always hear about the sequence number. Why do I need it if I already know my precinct number? The sequence number informs the chair of the Electoral Board where to find your name in the EDCVL, or the Election Day Computerized Voters List. If you've voted before, The EDCVL is that thick document containing photos, signatures, and ID number of voters, and which you countersign before the chairperson hands over your ballot. Knowing your sequence number ahead of time makes the voting process go faster for everyone. If you are a PWD or senior citizen voting in an EAPP, you don't need to know your sequence number because the EAPP support staff have their own list. Where can I get my sequence number? You can get your sequence number from the following. First, the Voters Information Sheet, or VIS, that the COMELEC will be sending to every registered voter before May 9. Aside from the sequence number, note that the VIS also contains a sample ballot and your precinct number. If you haven't received your VIS, or you want to know your sequence number ahead of time, another way is to call the COMELEC Voter Care Center. Better yet, you can call or text your local COMELEC office or DM them through their FB page. The COMELEC hotlines are listed in their website. Just scroll through the Contact Us tab for their local office numbers. A third way, COMELEC usually puts up its Precinct Finder webpage several days before elections, so you can try checking their webpage every now and then. Lastly, on Election Day itself, you can get your sequence number from the Voters Assistance Desk, or VAD, which will be set up right upon entry into every voting center. This will be run by PPCRV volunteers. To help them search faster, have your ID and precinct number on hand. We suggest that you determine your sequence number early to avoid possible long lines at the VAD. Can I vote even if I am not vaccinated? Yes, voting is a constitutional right. And proof of vaccination will not be required by the COMELEC for the May 9, 2022 elections. However, for the safety of the general public, every voter will undergo a temperature check upon entry into the voting center to determine if you're sick or not. And if your temperature is above 37.5 degrees Celsius, you will be asked to vote in an isolation polling place, or IPP. Do I have to bring proof of vaccination to vote? No. A vaccination card or any other proof of vaccination is not required to vote. COMELEC has placed enough safeguards to promote safe voting. These include temperature checks, social distancing, alcohol disinfection, and other measures. As a voter, you can exercise your own health and safety precautions by wearing your face mask at all times, bringing your own alcohol and wipes. Do I have to wear a face mask or a face shield? Wearing a face mask is still required by the IATF. However, face shields have been discontinued since last year. But if it makes you feel safer, you may still wear a face shield on Election Day. Do I have to bring my own pen? Yes, bringing your own pen is required. In a regular polling place, a voter needs to sign the voters list before he or she is given a ballot. On the other hand, in an EAPP or an emergency accessible polling place, the senior, PWD, or heavily pregnant voter needs to sign an authorization form in order to allow the EAPP support staff to retrieve their ballot. When it comes to shading the ballot, though, the voter has to use the COMELEC marker to avoid damaging the ballot, which can happen with a regular pen. Don't worry, COMELEC will provide you with a pen if you forgot to bring one. And whether for signing or shading, COMELEC pens are immediately disinfected after use. I have a slight fever. Can I still vote? Yes, if you feel well enough to go to the voting center, you will be allowed to vote. However, you will be immediately transferred to the isolation polling place, or IPP, if your body temperature checks above 37.5 degrees Celsius. Note that in an IPP, you will only be able to fill up your ballot, but not insert it inside the vote counting machine, or VCM. What if my temperature upon entry at the voting center is above 37.5 degrees Celsius? Will I still be allowed to vote? Yes. First, you will be asked to go to the EAPP or isolation polling place for your temperature to go down. It's likely that it may just be because of the summer heat. But if the high temperature persists, you will be asked to cast your vote in the EAPP, meaning you will no longer be able to personally insert your ballot in the VCM. A COMELEC authorized personnel will do this for you. Vote safe, Pilipinas!